Yeah, so this is really meant to be something like you just come with anything you have, any question you have, and then I do my best to answer you. So the idea at the very beginning was to have sessions all together to talk about grammar and structures of sentences. But since we have different time zones, etc., it was not really possible to run them. And so now we have this problem about the campus recording. We can take this session to do that. So it could be anything. And it does not need to be just at that level. It can be at any level. It can be about complex sentences, about simple sentences, about anything. Yeah. Maybe I'm taking you just by surprise like that, so you don't have anything.
Yes, a little bit surprised. Good morning, everyone. But I would like to ask something that sometimes could be difficult to translate or interpret it. That is the particles.
Yeah.
How? What? They are the ways that we can take it because.
Yes. Okay. So just let me. Do I? Yes. No, I need to go out. Yeah, exit full screen. Okay. So let's have a look at these things. Then the particles. Let me share my screen. For example, just take this one. Okay. So the particles, here you have two particles. Here you have the la. Let me make it bigger. Yes, okay. La here, la particle. And then here you have the gi particle, right? It is this kind of things that you don't know how to understand and how to use, right? This kind of things. So my approach here is to say that I want to know in which kind of sentence I'm going to use those things. Instead of learning the particle la and all its applications, I prefer to look at one verb. Let's say here, yeah, let's say sa. And so you know that gi is marking the subject. This is something that all of you know. And you know also that sometimes you have the gi, sometimes you don't have the gi. And so it becomes confusing to know when to have the gi and when not to have the gi, right? And for me, the simplest way of solving this problem is to say, okay, let's look at the action. What is happening? So someone is eating something. So when we have a verb that is like that, where there is someone who is actively doing something, then most probably we want to add the gi. And here, za is such a verb because there's someone who needs to do an action. So we know that together with za, any subject will be inside a component with gi. So then you can, if you remember that za goes together with the subject that goes with gi, an object that does not require any particle, and then the verb itself, then you know how to use the gi for that specific verb, right? And then similarly here, the la, let's say ngarang la pa ye, or ngarang la kabar ye. I have a telephone, right? So in Tibetan, you need to use this location component, la, component of location. It shows that the telephone is somewhere. So it's like if you say, I'm going to Paris. You have this idea of going somewhere and there's a direction. This is what means this la. And then together with it, when you say, okay, nala yo, then it means that to me, in the direction of me, then there is this telephone. Nala kabar yo. And so once you know that that's how you build a sentence with you, then you know how to use it, and you don't need to learn any very complex things about la and all its different usages. If you keep it to just, let's say, verbs and how they and what they mean, then you don't need to learn all that. Let's say now, I want to say I'm eating something at a restaurant. So here again, we know that the restaurant is something just because of how the action is happening. So someone is eating something. This is just normal. So you have someone who, in order to express that someone is eating something in any language, you have these three components that are there necessarily. There needs to be someone, there needs to be something to be eaten, and there needs to happen the action of eating, right? These three components you cannot do without in any language. And so it is the same for Tibetan. So these three components like that, they're organized with the gi here in Tibetan because the Tibetan wants to have this particle to mark the subject. And then you want to add on top of that, that I am eating something at the restaurant. So here again, in any language, it's the same. It is in the direction or at a specific place, right? Mm-hmm. At the restaurant. And so you will say, Zakang la narangi kalasagi. Or narangi la kalazagyo. And then since you know that the place where you want this action to happen has a direction, then you're going to say the place, zakam, and then use la. So if you think in this way, instead of having to learn all the definitions and all the usage and all the different meanings of each particle, it's much simpler because everything stays very concrete. So now tell me, what would you want to say? What kind of particle do you have trouble with?
Yeah, actually, especially with all the family of ki, yi, ki, all this. I have some trouble to understand what I'm translating.
Yeah, so ki with a sa always, right? The marking the subject, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing you, Marina. I see that you're moving, but I'm not hearing you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to ask that specifically too. Why with the sa and when without it? Because Rapatsa is usually without it, so I was quite confused about that.
Yes. Yeah. So these are two different meanings. Let's say, yeah, so I don't have it here, but yeah, let's just talk. So the ki with the sa is the mark of the subject. It's always going to be put at the end of the subject. Whether it's gi, pi, yi, or just a sa at the end, it doesn't matter. In spoken Tibetan, you anyhow just always use ki. So you don't have to worry about the other things or anything. And this is always going to mark the subject. When you see that something has after its ki, you know that that is the subject of what is happening. It's simple. And then when I say, for example, kabar ki chondo, so the color of the telephone, kabar ki chondo. What you are saying is that we're talking about. So here again, let me write it in. Let me show it to you in order to make it clearer. I'm just opening a. Okay. that is where I'm doing all those things. And so let's say that now I want to add some text. Run. And then key. Or yes, we were talking about cover it. So cover key. I'm just using spoken Tibetan, so it doesn't really matter how I write it. I'm not even really sure about the spelling of do, but it doesn't matter. So what happens is that okay, so let's take this out. Let me zoom in a bit so it becomes too much. Okay. So here, as you can see, Kapargi is pointing in the direction of Tsundol, right? So what we are talking about is the Tsundol. When I'm saying, showing my telephone, Kapargi Tsundol Nagbore. What I'm saying is the color of my telephone is black. What I'm talking about is the color, mainly, right? I'm talking about the color, not about the telephone itself. I'm talking about the color and saying that that color is black. And so the reason why Tsundol is at the end, in English, you would say the color of my telephone. Color comes before, right? Because English is the important parts of a sentence look at the left side. In Tibetan, they look towards the verb. So what you're actually talking about is always going to be on the right. And because of that, here, Kapargi Tsundol, we're talking about the Tsundol color. And which color? That's the color of Ki Kabar telephone. And yeah, so whether you write it Ki like this, Ki, Ki, Yi, or Yi, it doesn't really matter. In spoken Tibetan, you'll always say Ki, Kabar Ki Tsundol, and then in any other case, it's always Ki. Tibetan, spoken Tibetan simplifies. Whenever you encounter the things in written, then you just know that it means the same thing. There's no difference in that. And so whenever you see a Ki, you know that what is on the left is actually belonging or is put in contact with what is on the right, like in this arrow. And so that is how Ki without the Sa functions. And now let's do something similar. With Ki, with the Sa, so that you can see the difference. Where is it? Okay. Okay. Oh, maybe not that one, but that one. Okay. Oh. Sorry. Okay. So this. Trashi. Okay. Then sa, or let's say tro. It's also something that you have seen already. Oh, yes. Tro. Sa is better. Okay. So here for Tashi ki, so with the sa, as you can see, it also points, Tashi ki is pointing towards somewhere. Here the gi is pointing towards another noun. So it is a noun that points towards another noun. Or yes, usually it's like, yes, it is noun that points with another noun. And here this gi is pointing towards a verb because it is at the level of the sentence. So in the sentence, you have a few pieces out of which you have the subject, you have the object, and you have the location and other clauses, right? And the subject is one of these high-level components. And so the subject is always going to point towards the verb to say, okay, I am the subject of the verb. So Tashi goes towards sa, but it is in itself, it is complete. And so, of course, it is an empty box. I could make it much more complex. And for example, I could, let's say, and that one as well. Okay. So let me make it smaller. Yeah. Okay, and then Tashi ki, and then here let's put ama. Okay. So now you have the same component ki, that is the subject, but you have something complex inside. Right? You have Tashi gi ama. So, Alex, who is doing the action here? Is it Tashi or the mother?
The mother.
The mother, right?
Yeah.
Because as we have seen, Tashi points towards the mother. So it is, if we wanted to simplify, we could say ama ki sagedo, and that is still have the same meaning. But if we want to make more precise who is eating, Tashi gi ama ki sagedo.
But you need to know that is the ama from Tashi.
Yes, this you need to want to say it first, right? Then once you at times when someone asks you whose mother is eating, then you want to say that, right? You have this in your mind and you want to express it, to put into the sentence. Then you can use that structure. I see that Angelica has raised her hand.
Yes, I have a question that I actually asked in Lopeling, yes. Sorry, not in Lopeling, in our grammar Q&A question, and Genla answered it, but I still have, when you start thinking about these things, I still have a few thoughts. I just want to share it here so that everybody can see it. It's too small, but it's, it's the construct, but a little more complicated. I put it in the chat. So it's nga namni yanker jelwe rewaye.
Let me check the chat. Okay. So let me put here on the screen. Let me create another page. Okay, let's make it a little smaller. Okay. So is it new, the two of us?
Yeah, sorry, sa.
Okay.
Is the letters too small? I don't have my glasses.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. Just to make sure we're
Yeah.
talking about the same thing. Nanani yanker jawe rewayo.
Yeah. So here, my mistake is this. If I learn this in Kake, I would say nga namni yanker jelwa rewayo. Jelwa. I don't put the delta. Jelwe rewayo. This is my learning. Jelwe rewayo. Of course, in English, it makes sense that you need to have a connector. But when I heard it and I adapt my brain to it to speak it, then I would that's incorrect.
Okay, yeah. So maybe let's deconstruct this sentence and with the blocks that I'm having here.
There's two questions I have, but go for it. Yes.
Okay. So here are the shapes. So nanami. So what we have here is a group, nominal group, right? Nanami is the subject. Okay. And then inside we have, again, na, which is a pronoun which stands for a noun. So it has the same shape. Just going to copy and erase what I don't need. Okay. Now stands here as a noun. And then we have an adjective, which has this shape. It looks like a noun, but it somehow behaves a little bit differently. So, yes. For now, let's just imagine that Nami is one block. Nami. Okay, so it is a noun with an adjective that altogether create a group of a nominal group. Then we have an adverb, yanker. So this stays at the level of the sentence, right? Because it's saying how the action is, how we want the action to happen. Yanker, once again. Yanker. And these two. Okay. And then we have a verb. So template shapes. Jelwa. So do I have a special shape for that or not? Looks like I need to. Jelway. So actually, if I wanted to, I thought I had something. Okay. So let's use that one for now. So it's pa, wa, it's all the same. And inside that, what we have is a verb, jel. Okay. Put it here and replace it with gel. No. Okay. Gel. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay. And so this is a sentence. Let's now have a look at it. Just this much. So narangi yanker chel, yanker chergiyo, yanker chergiyin. So we say both of us again we will meet, or we meet, or here the conjugation is not there, so it's we can add any conjugation we want because it is as with these shapes here. It shows that it is the end of a sentence. What we do in order to integrate this sentence into another one is to turn into a noun by using wa or pa, wa, ya, etc. Because actually here, what the person wants to say is that I have the hope that we'll meet again, right? And so if you want to do that, then you have to, in Tibetan, you do not have relatives like who, that, etc. So the mechanism that Tibetan uses is actually the same as this one here. Here you need to have a noun. And then on the other side, you need to have another noun. So I have the hope of something. The hope is a noun, right? So if I want to link a noun with something else, whether it is sentence or whatever, it doesn't matter. The only way I can link a noun with something else is with ki. And because of that, then I need to have on the left side, I need that my component here is a nominal group. And so the trick that Tibetan does in order to link a noun with a sentence, a full sentence, is to turn the whole sentence into a noun by using pa here. And so it's actually not this one that we should be using, but this one here, which takes a sentence and turns into a nominal group. Now that I have, I need to make it everything smaller, otherwise we can't go until the end. Okay. So now that I have a nominal component, then I can fit in, I have the hope of something. Like you hear in English, when I say hope of something, something is a noun. So instead of the hope that we meet again, so English is kind of turning things around and introducing a relative. What Tibetan does is using the same structure of I have the hope of something. Something is a noun. We have put this whole sentence, the two of us will meet, into a noun. And so now we can continue. So once we have this thing, what we can do is to take that structure, the same that we had before. Let's make a little bit so that it's bigger, so that it fits inside here. Okay. And on the other side, I will also close it so that it looks like a noun. Where is the closing? Yes, here. So now I don't know where this is. Okay, here. So I still need to make it smaller because we have too many things now. So with that, I have one big component, something of, then I can put rewa here. And so rewa, yes, okay. So I need to put it like this. Let's pretend that it is a circle. And okay. Okay, Rewa goes here. Okay, and then we have the verb here, which comes at the very end.
Isn't rewa a verb here as well?
No, here no. And the reason for that is that ye, the structure of ye, does not require any, when you say ye, the only way you can make a sentence with ye is like that. So you need to have a location, a component of location, and then an object, which is a noun. So that's how you build a sentence with you. And because of that, if I have now, I know that I have you at the end. So what comes before must be the object that goes in this structure here. So that's why it's important to kind of memorize what verb goes with what structure so that you can put things together in the right way.
But there's no la particle in this sentence.
There is no, but as you can see here, it can be omitted. So you have this other with only the object that is here and then the verb here. And then this is implied. It does not need to be verbalized, but it is still there in the mind of the Tibetan, of the person, of the speaker, whether Tibetan or not. So here, actually, what we're saying is that I have the hope. I have one hope. Which kind of hope? The hope of me and you will meet. So that's what happens in the mind of a Tibetan when he says this sentence. So yeah, please, Angelica.
Okay, so yeah, so I have to correct myself because I tend to say Jelua Rewayu as opposed to Jelua Rewayu. I have to really correct myself in Kake.
Yeah.
And then that shows you that I'm still thinking like Western mind.
No.
And then the other question I have is nga namni. Usually we say nampaso. Nam is shesa, is honorific a little bit.
Namni. Yes, yeah.
When we use this, and you know the Geshe-la said, yeah, nam is nampaso. Is shesa. So I'm asking myself, why are we using nga namni for two of us?
Yeah, it's because, yeah. So I saw that there was I don't see everyone, so please don't hesitate to open your microphone and say, but I saw that Danny wanted to ask something. So and just before that, so at sometimes you will use shesa when you want, even though you're included in the sentence, when you want to pay respect to the other person that you include in the sentence. So it's not that I am being honorific about myself by saying namni, but I'm being honorific with the person that accompanies me, that is together with me. And so because of that, I can't use nanamni.
But can you say nganamni drogo? We need to go. The two of us need to go. We cannot say nganamni pepko. It sounds weird.
Yes, it sounds weird. So actually, I'm not really good about the honorific, but what I hear a lot of is, for example, nanso hlengie drogo instead of nyamdu drogo, and hlengie is the honorific.
Okay.
Nanso hlengie. I think pebgo. I don't really know. This you need to ask someone else. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Thank you.
We don't hear you, Dani.
Still no?
Yes, now it's okay.
Okay. So Rewa isn't exactly the same structure of English and Portuguese and Spanish, because we don't say expectation meeting, esperança encontrar. We need a preposition. So the E is the preposition of meeting, de encontrar. So it's exactly the same. It doesn't have any difference from our languages. The way it is different, but we need the preposition there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
So that's one thing that I think it's exactly the same.
Yes. Yeah. Good point. Yeah, it's good when we see similar things, then we can use that in order to ease up things. Yeah.
Drupchen, but you said
Yes.
that the whole sentence becomes like a noun.
Yes.
Yes, by doing that.
Yeah.
Then wouldn't it be more like in Spanish del encuentro more than de encontrar?
Yes, but look here, you're making things very complicated, and that is Spanish. Our language is complicated a lot of things. Instead of saying, I want to meet you and me and you will meet, this is my hope. Instead of saying that, you turn the conjugated verb into non-conjugated verb, into the infinitive, the encontrar. So you have to turn things around and really twist things in order to create an infinitive. Tibetan don't complicate that much. Tibetan is very simple. You keep the sentence exactly how would you say it if it was alone. This alone has exactly the same structure than if it was completely outside the idea of hoping for something or not. You keep it exactly how you would say it. The only thing is that you take out the conjugation and then you turn into a noun using wa or pa or something else. And then you can link it to another noun using gi. So on that respect, Tibetan language is simpler. It's just that it is doing things in a way that is not familiar to us. But think of, you have a sentence that is normal. You have to take out the subject. Once you have taken out, you have to change the verb that is conjugated into an infinitive. And then only you can link it with the other parts of it. That's quite a lot of complications, isn't it?
Yeah, we need to change our mindset.
Yes, exactly, and that's exactly why I want to do those sessions and making these videos, etc. Because you cannot keep the same way of thinking and then start speaking in Tibetan without mistake. You need to change the way you look at things. That's why we said that language brings a world view together with culture also.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's just different. Just like also in the video that I was saying here, you, especially when you have this, for example, Nala Kabarye, what you think is, I have a telephone. And you think it translates very straightforwardly into, I have a telephone. But that's absolutely not what happens in the mind of a Tibetan. What the Tibetan is actually saying or thinking when he says Nala Kabarye is, to me, there is a telephone. He does not think I have something. You have that to me, towards me, then there is a telephone. That's how you conceptualize the action of possessing. And this is why whenever you have je, do, or yore, what we put in the subject in our languages, the possessor, in Tibetan is actually inside a location component, which is kind of an optional clause. It's like I'm saying, I'm going to Paris. To Paris is optional. And so in Tibetan, you say to me, it is optional. There is a telephone. And so, yes, you need to change the way that you think in order. At the beginning, you must force yourself to think differently. And then because of speaking again with the guides, etc., then it will become natural. And then you will not even realize that you're saying these weird things. Yeah. So anyone wanted to say something and saw that it was difficult or didn't understand why we have to say in this or that way? Okay.
There was a sentence we had on one class that even though I asked repeatedly to the teacher to explain, and I didn't find that in the dictionary either. I still don't understand exactly what it means. I kind of have an idea of it. It was something like talking about colleagues, linka tonkidu, something like that.
Lero.
Lero, yeah. Lero, linka.
Leronki, linka tonkidu.
Leronki, yeah, exactly. Yeah, she was introducing that. Linka tonkidu.
Let me. Okay.
I still don't understand well
what's happening.
That means. Yeah, I saw the picture, but you know exactly. I don't know.
Okay, so let's do the same thing that we did. So first we identify which are the components of that sentence. So we have lero, the key that is going to come with the shape. And then we have linga, which is the object. And then we have tongido. So gido, the conjugation is going also to come with the shape, but we can keep it. We can keep it there. It's going in order to make things simpler. So gido here is the conjugation of the present, right? So actually we have the subject that is marked with key, lero key. So let's find the bits that go together with that. Lero key, so it's on top here. This one, okay. And then we have the object, which is in a noun box, noun component, nominal component. And then we have the verb, tongido. Yeah, so let's just keep tong there in the middle. Yeah, so put like that, it doesn't look like very much complicated. What is complicated is the representation of what is happening. So we have someone who does something, right? 3 components in the same order as always. And so literally what it's saying is that the colleagues are sending, doing, or anything. Tong is actually an auxiliary that works in as many contexts as to have, to be, etc. It stands for the action of many things. Literally, it is to send or to. Yes.
Is it like gap?
Yes, also gap is another one of these. Yeah, gap is another one of these auxiliaries that can be used instead of specific verbs. Yeah. Let's say what kind of thing that I can. Yes. Instead of saying I am dancing, I could say I do the dance. And so here, do is used not like a verb in itself, but it is used as an auxiliary. It's just puts an action where we have a noun. Dance is a noun, and we want to make it into an action, so we put do the dance. It's not that do has, I'm not fabricating anything. I'm just doing the dance. I'm just dancing, actually. So tong here is used as a verb that puts an action in linga. Linga is a park, right? Park where you usually have flower, trees, and this kind of things. So in Tibetan, doing the linga means having a picnic. So you do the linga, you do the park. You go to the park and you do something. There's an action going on at the park, and all together, it means having a picnic. And so here, all together, so actually what we should be looking at is, yes, where is this thing now? Not shapes, but, yes, okay, here. So, not that one, but I want to put them together. Or, yes, let's say that we are going to use two of those. So let's change the color to something more neutral. Let's put at the very end, T-zone. And okay. Okay. So lingatom needs to be taken as a single unit. It needs to be considered as a whole. Just like you cannot say, I have something that is called a meal in order to have the meaning of I take a meal. I'm having my meal. It's something, it's an expression that you need to keep together. And here, lingatom still needs to be kept together. And so this can be put a little bit on the side. And so if you do that, then you have a lingatom, which is the action of having a picnic. And then we have the subject, which is colleagues. So colleagues are having a picnic.
Okay. So this this union that cannot be separated, would it be like, for example, kalasa?
Exactly. Kalasa is what I put here. Kalasa is to have a meal. Chinese also do something similar. Instead of saying kala, which is food, Chinese say eat rice. So in Chinese, if you say I have a meal, you're going to say I'm eating rice. Not that you're eating rice exactly, it could be anything. But eating rice together means to have a meal. And the Tibetan equivalent is to eat food. Naranki kalasagyo. I am having a meal. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That was much clearer.
You're welcome.
Dupching, I also have a question.
Yeah.
So I have started the A1, studying A1, and then there are, in the first lessons, there are new verbs. So I think they come after the verbs. They are chun and song.
Okay.
So not quite sure what they mean.
Chun and song. Okay. So this is actually the conjugation. It's not verbs. Let's say, let's take that as the basis. Let's put it here. I'm going to put this one so that we can add something, and then we are going to, I don't have a shape for that as for now, but yeah. yeah, just put a square. Where is it? Okay. Yes. So June, and then we have the same for the song. So it's not different verbs. It is just the conjugation, and what it shows is some detail about how the action, how the verb is happening. So it shows the modality of how the action is happening. Jung has the meaning of it happened to me at some point. At some point in the past, I did eat something. Trashigi kala zajong or trashigi zajong. Trashi has eaten it, but I'm not really sure about how to translate in English. I don't know how, if I will find an equivalent, but what it means is that Trashi at some point in time did eat that. Trashigi kala zajong. Now for some is, so song means Trashi kala zasong. So the action happened in the past and it is finished, is over. Trashi kala zasong. It was an action that took some amount of time, but it is over, and the whole action happened in the past. So it shows the past tense and the fact that the action is over. Zong. For example, I can say, Kasang chomla drosong. Kasang Trashi chomla drosong. Yesterday, Trashi went to the market. And song here is going to tell me that it is in the past, but not only that, it also tells me that the action is finished. It was limited in the time, and that's over. That's song.
Drupchen, but for that, don't you have the past? For example, chimpa?
Yes, so I can have others, let's say.
Or does it have a different meaning if you say?
It has a different meaning. But it's good that we look at them. So I could say Trashi kala zajung, saying that it happened to him at one point. I did eat it at some point. Song, which means that the action is over. And now if I'm using the neutral past, just the past, then I could put pare, or I put re alone. So these two have the same meaning, same value. Trashigi zebare, or trashigi zabare, or trashigi zare. This is just he ate, with not explaining how the action happened. It's just he ate. Just the normal past without any extra information about how the action went. So yes, in English, then you would have, in order to have a complete translation of Trashigi Sajung, then I will be forced to add extra words and say that Trashi at some point in time did eat something. So I have to add those words in English to have the full meaning of Jung. If I just want to translate Trashi ate, Trashigi zebare, or Trashigi zare, then I am with the let's say the neutral or the kind of standard past tense. Yeah, so let's put it into the central position. Here. Yeah.
Okay, so when we use de, It's past. I always thought it was present.
When we use what? Sorry?
For instance, za pare or zare.
Yes. Yeah. This, yes. It's always past, yes. It is past tense.
When you put gi, it's present.
Yes, okay. So now, yes.
Zagire.
Yes. Let's look at the other tenses.
I see.
Let's add a page. Why can't I bring it down there? Okay, it works. Okay. Yeah, so this is the present tense. Trashigi, zagi du. Trashigi, zagiyor. And then you will use, like in the, I explained in the video about you, do, and yore. You is only meant, is directed inwards towards the speaker. So since trashi is a third person, it's not me who is speaking, and then I cannot use trashigi zagiyor. And then I would say trashigi zagido, trashigi zagiyor, and narangi zagiyor. So that's for the present tense.
If I say something, trashiki zagire, would it just mean that trashi eats?
No. Then if you say trashigi zagire, you're in the future.
In the future? Okay.
Yes. You see, du and yore and ye are for the present. Je and yin, gi yin, ki je is for the future. So let's write it. Past.
And how would I say a general affirmation? For example, if I ask if Trashi drinks coffee, how would be the general? Is re, yore?
Yes, I would use the present tense. And out of present tense, then gi yore. Yore, because yore means, generally speaking, something happens. And so in order to make it complete, let's put rang ki. Yes, is already there. Good. Okay. Naranki zagiyor. So for the present, you have these things. For everything that the speaker, that everything related to the speaker, you use ye, zagiyor, drogiyor, tungiyor. So when it is something that the speaker does himself and he has this direct experience, then giyor. When it is in the present and outwards, not the speaker, but the others, then it is gidu, giyore. Trashigi zagidu, trashi drogidu, trashigi tungidu, etc., etc. So gidu, giyore, giyo are for the present. And now future. So here again, we have the same distinction between what the speaker does and what others do. So for, yes, it's not trashy here. Let me just copy and make a, again, is shortcuts only work when I'm not in the Tibetan keyboard. Okay. Rang ki sagin. So this is I will eat. Gin is the future. And then trashigi. Then I have to use sagire. And we don't have the equivalent of yore in the future. It is either yin or re.
Isn't there another form in the past, like nyong or something like that?
Yes. So let me, how do I add a, yes, it went after. So let's take it out, create a new page here. Let's take all that down here and bring that in the middle. Just to remember, someone did something at some point. Yes, since we're in the past, I don't need to add the fact that it is in the past that this is happening. Okay. Then it is simply someone did something. This is someone did something and the action is over. Nyong is for someone did something. Trashigi Sanyo. And so it happened to him. Someone that he did something. I have the experience of eating momos. Someone has the experience of doing something. Yeah. This is Nyong.
Does it imply that it's for the first time that this person did it or no?
No, it's just I have the experience of having done it. We don't saying it for the first time, how many times, nothing. Just that I have that experience.
But whenever something happens, you have the experience. So what's the difference?
Yes, but let's say that you ask me, did you ever go on, let's say, the Eiffel Tower? Then I would answer, yes. Oh, yeah, Eiffel Tower gala dronyo. I have the experience. It did happen to me. I have the experience of going there and being on top of the Eiffel Tower. I'm not saying when or anything. You're just asking me that, and I use Nyong for that context.
Okay.
Are these all the auxiliaries for every verb or change with some kind of verb?
Yes. Yeah, they can be used for anything. Like I was using now for going on top of the Eiffel Tower would be draw. Eiffel Tower gangla drawing. Eiffel Tower gangla drawing. And so yes, all of these, this can be any verb. So all of these are valid for all the verbs. So yes, it's instead of having to give the detail of what is the modality of the action, like in English, adding many things, Tibetan crams everything into the conjugation that you're using after the verb. So nyong is the conjugation of the past, but it also brings the meaning of having the experience of doing that action, the action of the verb. Song is also the conjugation of the past, but with this other meaning, etc.
And then also there is the particle ne.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, Zintra ne yong in.
Yeah. Okay,
I'm
that's a
not
good
sure
example.
what it means.
Yes, let's look at it. Zintra ne yong in. Zintra. Okay. Yong yin. So now going into. Let's first take the break it into components and yong, yeah. Okay. And then here we have Tindra. So Tindra, ne, yong, yin. So here, this is not a particle, right? And so because of that, we need to fit it into one of those shapes. Where is the ne? I don't remember if I have. Yes, this one. So Tindra comes before it. Tindra ne. And Tindra is a noun, so we'll fit it into a nominal block. Okay, and then we have a verb. Okay, and then we have the conjugation that goes together with it. Okay. Okay, so ne is showing the. So let's start first with the verb. What does yong mean? Does anyone know? Do you know what yong means?
Come.
I don't know. It's not clear to me.
To come, yes. So you're somewhere and then you come, I mean, you come here, right? You come to another place. You were somewhere else and then you come to another place. And so because of that, looking at how the action happens for the verb to come, it means that someone is at a place that is not here, at a different place, and then does the action of moving towards where I am standing, right? Towards me, towards the speaker. And so yong means that, so this implies that there is a subject here somewhere. And this subject is, so when there is someone a subject who does not do something, yes, when you don't use the gi particle, then you will say that it is not really a subject, but a context. It is like about me or about Trashi. He came from school. We're talking about Trashi. So he's the context. Here I am forced to, I don't have the choice actually not to put ngarang. And the reason for that is that yin can only be the conjugation of the speaker, like we have seen in the past tense. So there is something missing here, which is yin. By yin or yin. So yes, actually, yes. So for the general, it's like in this case, for everything that is yin goes together with ngarang, with the speaker, and the other conjugation goes with the others, right? So here we have the same thing. Yin and payin is the past conjugation for the speaker, and re and pare is the past conjugation for others, those who are not the speaker. And so because I have yin here in your sentence, yong yin, I know that it is the speaker who is saying that. And because the speaker says that, then it must be ngarang. So the someone who is coming from somewhere is the speaker himself, right? And he's coming from, from where? From Dzindra. Ngarang, Dzindra ne, yongyin. So, and because yin already contains the information of ngarang, usually this will be dropped off. I'm in the wrong. So that's why you have Dzindra ne, yongyin. You don't say the ngarang because this information is already found in the yin. Yin can only works with the speaker, and because of that, I know that it is ngarang anyhow. So I don't need to say it because it's already there. The information is already there.
Okay, so just to let them know, just to make sure I understood. It means I'm coming from school, right? I'm coming.
Yes, that's right. The only thing that needs to be changed is the conjugation. I'm coming from school is present tense, right?
All right.
And yin here is past tense. So I came from.
So I came from school.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Ngarang Dzindra ne yongyin. And if Dzindra ne, if you're speaking with a person and you already were talking about the fact that you were at school before, you could here. You could do that, yongyin. If the information that you came from school is already known by your interlocutor, you don't need to add that information. So you can say only yongyin, and the person will understand that it is from school that you came.
Okay, there is also another sentence here, which uses ne. Can I tell you?
Yes, sure. 1 minute. Yes. Let me just,
Okay, so tada nga lo ni shu in. Leka me.
Yin. So this is one sentence. Let's.
Yeah, and then it continues. Lo nishu je ngane lekayu.
Okay. Nga lo nishu tanda nga lo nishuin legame, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Legame. And then
lo nishu ja ngane lekayu.
nishu tsangane, right? No?
Yep. Nishu tsanane.
Nishu tsangane na legayo.
Lekayu.
Okay, so that makes 3 sentences, not 1.
Mm-hmm.
So let's first have a look at the first one. Na lo nishu yin. So let's put them in the next page for later. So here, this one here. Tanda. Yes, okay. Okay. So I have to write it again. Tanda. And then we have sorry to take time. Na. And then we have lo yishu, which is actually 2 words. Lo nishu. And finally we have yin. Okay. Okay, so now let's put them in shapes. Tanda. Tanda is something like that without the la. So because of that, let's take out the la. It shows the time when and so in Tibetan, the time usually you think it at yesterday, at today. This is why you have the location particle as well. Tanda, na. So here, even though it is a pronoun, oh, maybe I can make it smaller so that it fits into this line. Na is a pronoun, but a pronoun works like a noun, right? So it goes into a noun box. Okay, and then we have lo nishu. So, and then you have lo nishu is a complex noun phrase. Ah, yes, okay, sorry. So this is not this one, but it is here in the context. So, and the context goes into this box. We are talking about me. Na, lo. Okay. And then that one. which will go here. And then I have an adjective, which is initial. Oh, initial. Yes, and then at the end you have yin, which is a verb. So you will hear all your Tibetan teachers tell you that yin, ye, yore, du are not verbs. In the strict sense of when you're constructing a sentence, here obviously there's nothing else than the slot of the place of the verb that can be taken by yin. But the way Tibetan thinks about verbs is that it needs to be an active thing that happens. There needs to be an action. It cannot just be describing something. So I am something, narang karinajik yin, is there's no action. I'm just describing something. And because of that, they will say that it's not a verb. And so this is just kind of telling you, because you will hear from your teachers that this is not a verb. Mm-hmm. Yet when you construct sentences, there's no other place to put them other than where you would put verbs. And so here, this sentence is saying so tanda is something extra. Yin is what? Yin is to be, right? Someone is something. Because here we know that we have a person. And so someone is something to be. And when you think about how this action works, it is there's someone who is something. We have these 3 blocks. It is like we have here. Someone is here something. So it is about someone or something. It is something, right? And so that is what we have. About me, I am Lo Nishu, 20 years old. Na Lo Nishu Yin. And then we want to add to it an extra information about the time. When this happens, now, tanda, na Lo Nishu Yin. Yeah, you were about to say something.
I cannot say tada na Lo Nishu Yu. Or can I?
This is no, because in Tibetan you don't think the age in terms of having. You think of it in terms of being 20 years. So this again is something that you must keep in your mind. It's just a different way of looking at things. Ye, the verb of possession, is really something like now I possess this telephone. Or I possess, I don't know, qualities or defects, etc. This is something that I possess. I am the possessor. But if you think of it, I'm not really the possessor of 20 years. It just happened that my body has been born 20 years ago. I do not possess those 20 years.
In English, with the age is the same, right? Because I am 20 years old.
Yes, so you have to add old in English. But in Tibetan, you do not. You just say, I am 20 years. Yeah. But yeah, in English, you still you use the same verb, the same auxiliary, to be. I am 20 years old. Yeah. Okay. And as you see here, whenever you want to add some extra information that does not fit into the 3 components of the verb itself, which is here. So this is the structure that you must have. If you want to add some other things, then you will put at the verb beginning, because that's the farthest from the verb. So it is the least important information. Tanda na Lo Nishu Yin. And if you want to stress the fact that it is now and not before that you are 20 years, then you can put it, you can swap it places. Now, tanda, lo yin shu yin. Then, because you put tanda closer to yin, you're focusing, you're putting the emphasis on the fact that it is just now that I have 20 years and not before. Whether in the first sentence, it is just now, I happen to have 20 years. Okay. So that is for on the first sentence. Now, on the second one, legame. So this is rather easy because there's only two components.
I would just to say something. I guess this is all from A1, yeah? Lesson.
Yes.
This would be better to have first the class with the teacher, because many of those things you
yes, right.
You understand all these things from A1. If you didn't have first class, it would be better to first understand in Tibet and then have an explanation of all of it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, in Anapatsa you won't understand 100%, and then you understand a bit more using during class.
Yes, yeah. So this is something that, and there's a very good reason for doing this in this way. So I'm sorry to have started a spoiler, but what happens is that, let's say in the other approaches to learn Tibetan is to take a text and then you look at the first verb, the first word, second word, third word, and you look at the dictionary, what they are, and then you try to put together and you are told, you're given a recipe. Okay, so if you have this sequence of words, then you have this meaning. And then you keep this recipe in your mind. You keep it into your, let's say, your backpack or into your memory, and then you continue, you move on. And so you kind of accumulate only recipes. And that is what you will use in order to translate. But as we know, recipes are limited. With recipes, someone who is just looking at the recipe is not a fully kind of professional chef who can adapt to any situation. And obviously, the recipes that are going to be seen even in 3, 4, 5 years or more are going to be limited when compared to the amount of variations that you will find in the Tibetan literature. And because of that, recipes are useful, knowing that you must think of the verb to have in this way in Tibetan. To me, there is something. This is useful. But if you only have that, then you're limited by the scope of your recipe. Whether if you use that and it becomes a second nature because you speak and then you integrate that and not use it like a recipe that you draw from from the cupboard and then use and then put it back, and then if you do not leave it at that stage but you reintegrate it and it becomes a second nature, you don't even notice anymore what is happening when you speak, that you're using all those rules, all those structures. Then you gain the flexibility of not needing to look at the recipe book anymore. Then you can just have a lot of ingredients in front of you and you know what dish you're going to make. You don't need to look at that anymore. And so that's where we want to lead you. And that's why we focus so much on spoken Tibetan, because that will give you this fluency, this ability, this flexibility of dealing with everything. And that is why actually Ngauntine he doesn't like the idea of me explaining the structures. But at the same time, since we don't have 10 or 20 years like Tibetan children have in order to pick up from people talking, to pick up all these small details by themselves naturally, then since we are kind of cramming up everything in 5 years, then without someone explaining, there's no way that you're going to understand. And because of that, I'm explaining. But the focus should be to integrate it, not learn the recipes.
Yeah, and I think I still need many explanations because I didn't have. But the focus is not to ask you to translate all the sentences. I guess that's not the focus of the explanations.
Yes, yeah, it is to give you, yes.
Because you actually learn because you are for example, Linkaton, you see tons of pictures of people eating in a park. And then you understand at some point. You don't understand how it is constructed, but you understand what's happening. Then if you really don't understand, or you don't understand how the sentence is constructed, I think that's the most difficult. It's very difficult for me. Then this is supposed to get explanations from Drupal, but not to get every sentence and every word translated. Especially the ones that we didn't even had classes yet.
Okay, so that is bringing up another issue. How can we, so ideally we should make sessions that are for each level with this kind of things.
Or maybe to just ask questions of lessons that you already had, not the lessons that you still have in the future.
Yes, okay. So yeah, so this you didn't have yet, right? Tandangal, Nishui, etc.
Nobody had.
Nobody had. Okay.
No.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Then yes. Okay. Then yeah. Then we're going ahead of. I didn't understand that. I thought that some had already seen that. Yeah. Okay. So besides that, anything from the previous level, from A0, or something that happened in class already? Yeah, and then those in like, I also want that those who are already in higher classes can also benefit something. So this, I think that if you have questions, then I can answer now also, even though it's not yet at the level of the others. That's fine.
I know the answer, but it's just new to me. It's new. And sometimes when something's new, still stays in my head. So going back to the Chedra, the
yes,
key.
The marker of the subject key, yes.
Yes. It's, well, it becomes easy once you know the agent, right? But sometimes the agent, it can also be a non-person, as we know. So if we say, if I hear Ngarangi Sakpegewa, I would say it's a Chedra, right?
Yes, let me write it.
The full sentence has a Chedra, actually. Ngarangi Sakpegewa. And then I ask myself, why can it be Nge Sakpegewa with a sa, Ngasange?
Nge.
As opposed to Ngarangis.
Gewa. Nge Sakpegewa.
Yeah.
Instead of.
In our lesson, it was Ngarangi Sakpegewa. It's a aspiration that is being said.
Yes,
if you read the whole sentence, it makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I never heard this construction on Ngarangi Sakpegewa.
Ngarangi Sakpegewa. The only reason is because
I'm supposed to Nge Sakpegewa.
Yes, it's absolutely equivalent. There's no reason that one should work and not the other.
Okay.
Ngarangi Sakpegewa looks more oral, spoken. Nge Sakpegewa looks more formal. But besides that, it's absolutely equivalent.
Can we say that in this case is pointing to both the agent and that the fact that it belongs to you? Can we say that?
So let's look at it then. So here, sak is the action. Sak is to accumulate, right? So the action to accumulate means that there's someone who is accumulating something. So someone, ki, something, sak. And here, what we have is, so this, yes, let me put it. So just to make it simple now, I'm just going to separate it in this way. nge, and then here, gewa, sa. So the sentence would be that, nge, gewa, sa. The agent, let's put the shapes here. Okay, something key. Yes. And then the object is here. Okay. Let's make it bigger also. And then we have the verb sa here. So the same three blocks that we usually have. Nge, narangi, nge, gewa, sa. And then what we want to say here is the merit that I have accumulated, right? We are talking about the merit. And about the merit, we're saying that it is the one that I accumulated, right? Yeah. And so the way to do is, we're not talking about sa, we are talking about gewa. And because of that, we have, where is it? Where's the shape now? This one here. Yes. You have this shape, and then you have the pa here, which turns what precedes it into a noun, just like before. So that is this one. And we have on the other side, we have that as well. So we have a sentence that has been turned into a noun in order to fit it into the other sentence. And so inside the sentence, what do we have? What we have is a normal sentence, nge, sa. And so here, as before, we have the verb, which is sa. And we have narangi or nge, which is the same. So that's actually how it looks altogether. So we had this at the beginning. If we want only to talk about the gewa and say that it is the one that I accumulated, then we leave out the narangis gewa, sarbe gewa, then it's redundant, right? So we leave out gewa from this sentence in inner sentence, nge sa, the one that I accumulated, or I accumulated, let's say I accumulated. And then this becomes a noun and is put together, is linked towards gewa. Nge sa be gewa. And so because it is in this structure, then I do not need to have anything else to say that it is the one that I have personally accumulated. It's already there. I don't remember, what was your initial question?
No, I was just thinking that if we say narangi sapegewa, it sounds like, in my initial, when I heard it, my initial was mine. We use those narangi for something that is we're possessing. But here we use it as a chedra construct, and it was very new to me. Yes. So I just wanted to see if there's a difference between narangis and nge, because I haven't used narangis.
Yes, no. Narangis is just the same. If you say someone possessing something, then it is without the sa. Then it would be...
Yeah, it would be a delta.
Delta, yes. And so what happens is that for Tibetans, narangi with the sa, which the sa makes the syllable a little longer. Narangi sapa, narangi sa. So it is very close one to another. So it's a place where a lot of mistakes will happen. And like Kembo, the Kembo who was talking about philology told to us, this is one of the main source of mistakes when you look at Tibetan text. Tibetans mistake a lot the linking particle, ki, which is here, this one, with the subject particle here. Because the only difference in when you speak it is the length of the syllable, and when you write it is having or not a sa. This is very little, and because of that, Tibetans make a lot of mistakes. They very easily confuse one for the other. And so because of that, Ngarang Ki, when you say Ngarang Ki with the sa, it is always the subject, never the idea of possessing something.
You mean when we have this construct of the merit that I have accumulated, when we have this, I don't know what grammatical language this is, but when you have this construct, that makes sense.
Yes, yes, yeah, because we have a sentence inside. Before the pa, we have a full-fledged sentence, nge sa. And so in the sentence, the subject needs to be marked because sa requires the subject to be marked by ki.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my mental note. Because maybe I'm not hearing it, I don't hear the longer sound of the key.
Yes. Yeah.
So my mind said, oh, it's a dredra, but of course it doesn't make sense that it's a dredra. It's not.
Yeah. No, it's not. Yeah. And then I remember having a Kempo in Shechen who said always ngarang gis or nges to really mark the difference. Yeah. But he was doing it on purpose and knowing that that's not how people speak. He just wanted his students to really know that there was the subject here and not a link between two nouns.
I think also that's what happens sometimes when we learn to speak from listening. There, in speaking, you don't speak perfectly. So when you're also learning, you pick up the imperfect ways. You have to deconstruct them a little bit.
Yes, yeah, and that's actually, the only way to actually straighten these things is by explaining the structure like we're doing now. Yeah. So it's useful to do that. Otherwise, then you would need to stay like for 10 years with this doubt, and at one point it will click. But we don't have that much time to wait.
But then the other extreme is exactly as you pointed. Then you just learn recipes, and then you speak like in recipe, and it's so easy to pick up on.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. I lost track of the time. I don't know how much time we spent already. I think we went beyond what was planned, right? I'm not sure. Okay. So, well, maybe we stop it at here this time. Okay. So now let's make a dedication. We started with the refuge. Sonam de yen tamje sembanyan tumne nyeban ranam pamje shin janga na chen balon truba ye semban solan rowan rai sho. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.